Welcome to Artisan Talks. I am joined by my good friend Asad. We have been buddies for about a decade, which is roughly how long Asad has been exploring the frontier of augmented reality and storytelling and video games. He's one of the most talented, resilient, inventive creators that I know, and I'm really excited to pillage his brain for as much wisdom as we can steal for all of those creators watching. How are you doing today, Asad?
Man, it's sunny. It's a warm day. Take the dog out for a walk. Grab a cold drink. Can't get better than this.
Well, in Portland, it is rainy and cold. And my 7-year-old son, who I love more than anything, has had several meltdowns today. We've got people in the house. I'm hiding in our utility closet. So it's sort of like the polar
Can't get
opposite of you
better
there.
than that either. Like it's all
I
different
couldn't.
flavors of just great.
And that's the beauty of being alive, right? Is that you get to experience all of the various shapes and sizes that life comes at you in. Um, so for those who don't know, you run Jadu. I'm gonna try to like say what Jadu does. It's done a lot of different things. It came out about 3 or 4 years ago. I remember going for a walk in Tabor near my house, and you were calling me, and you're like, "Hey, I'm thinking," because up to this point you've done you do these amazing projects that would tour at the Sundance and Tribeca and Venice and all the film festivals. It was sort of more in the art world, and you called me up and you're like, I want to do this company, this AR company, Jadu. Do you think I should do it? Do you think I should run a startup? And I was like, do you think I should go raise money? And I was like, oh man, it's so I don't know, like startups are really hard. I don't know if that's a thing that you want to do like that. It sounds and raising money is challenging, and then you went out and raised like $36 million for what has become this really exciting AR gaming company. That's my sort of outsider's perspective on it. It's this creative studio. You guys have been trying a bunch of different things. It's all sort of in the AR mobile gaming space. Can you tell me like what Jadu is today? Like what has it evolved into?
Great questions that I ask myself all the time. Yeah, it's funny because it's been some time since I've spoken in any kind of public forum about what we're doing, and what we're doing has been evolving throughout the years a lot. But I think the one thing that's been consistent throughout has been the absolute persistence on AR and really sticking to it. So we are an AR company, and I think AR takes a lot of forms. Right now, it's mobile for us. That's what we're focused on, because if you want to augment people's reality, you got to find people where they're at, and phones is the way to reach most people. And augmenting reality, I think, is a really broad concept. It's a concept I grabbed onto in 2017. And even then, I was like, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And that has not changed. Because AR, the concept is not about the camera or the sensors or projection. It's about augmenting reality, which includes just people's lives pretty broadly. So that's kind of the more abstract answer. In more practical terms, we are doing AR on phones, and we are doing the best possible version of that, pushing on the capability of what is possible and converting that into experiences and products.
To make it concrete, I guess a couple of things. One is I remember maybe a year ago you guys did this experiment with like a fighting game. Recently you've been sending me these videos that I don't know what they are, but they're like these amazing. They'll be like a van in your room, and then you go in the van, and like out the windows become like psychedelic, futuristic sci-fi shit. Like can you ground a little bit more into reality with what it is that these experiments are right now that you're doing?
So I will have to go back a bit to get us to where we're at right now.
Okay,
If you don't mind, to
do
a
it.
little bit refining.
Evolution.
So, when we started doing work on mobile and switching from headsets, started Jadu, the idea was to reach people with AR. And what the AR was, it was a pretty broad concept. Um, Gaming wasn't something we were specifically thinking about when we started. You might remember we were doing holograms of musicians
Yeah.
in like 2020.
Yeah, and you did
Um,
them with some really big musicians too, right? Like, well, I mean, so Grimes was a musician you did, and some other
Yeah, we
people
did
that I
Lil
remember being
Nas
very impressed by.
X. We did a hologram of Lil Nas X. That was probably the biggest song we worked on that came out at that time. We did Serena Williams. We did like a whole holographic experience with. So we actually have a pretty substantial library of volumetric data from a lot of artists from COVID, which I'm curious to do more with. It's been kind of sitting in cold storage for a number of years now. But even then, the idea of where we were heading wasn't a specific thing where volumetric holograms exist, but I
Yeah.
wanted it to be a thing where they can exist. But other things can also exist. And during the start of the Web3 era in 21, 22, we did jetpacks and hoverboards. That at that time we're going for something very specific that was making sense in that era where people were very excited about collectibles, owning.
That was a moment in time.
It was truly a moment in time. A moment in time that I think will return in various ways throughout the rest of time, hopefully. So with the Web3 stuff, we had a big moment. Like we raised a lot of capital, both from VCs and also by the NFTs themselves trading pretty substantially. And when we got access to this capital, on one hand, you would think that it would raise your bar for what you're hoping for. The vision would expand, but
Yeah.
weirdly, it had to get more practical. It had to get more
Mm.
specific.
Yeah.
Because now there were stakes and money was being spent. Every waking
Yeah.
hour, I had the pressure of thousands of dollars leaving.
Oh,
And
I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling so much. I calculate it sometimes, like when my burn was particularly high for me anyways, it was about 150,000 a month was sort of like the highest burn that we had at Artizen. And at one point I calculated how much we were spending every hour, and it literally made me sick to my stomach. I forget what the number was now, but it was just like, oh, we're not generating this much value every hour.
yeah, exactly. It's an interesting feeling for someone like me. I'm from Pakistan. Coming to the US, I had $800 in my pocket. I have always felt like I've been able to do a lot with little. So
Yeah.
when suddenly you're spending a lot, and then you have to question, like, are you doing proportionally that much more as
Yeah.
an output? That's an incredibly stressful concept.
Yeah.
So we made this fighting game because we were hitting some limits with what was possible with the Web3 angle. Apple wouldn't allow our app on the App Store. We'd done a lot of work to get it to a certain point. So we had to pivot, and we decided to go for something very specific, which was it's a fighting game. Someone else shows into your room. It has this real-time multiplayer feature that was really exciting. And we had 400,000 people play it and rate it practically 5 out of 5 stars on the App Store. So clearly, it was resonating with people. It was a new thing. But the problem was we were constrained by just mobile limits. It was like
Yeah.
a technical constraint.
Was it networking? Like, what was the bottleneck?
The bottleneck, honestly, the biggest bottleneck is just GPU, CPU processing.
Okay.
Because on a phone, 50% of your GPU, CPU is basically going to just running the AR session, taking the camera feed, calculating the planes, projecting the planes. So you're left with very little actually to get creative with and do a lot with. And we wanted to do a lot. Like this is a really flexible, insane medium where a lot of crazy things can happen. So because of that, over the last year, we took a pretty bold step to rebuilding our entire code base.
Oh man, that sounds. I've been there. We've rebuilt the code base for Artisan 6 times, something like that. It's so painful. How did you make the decision? Was it like obvious and you knew you had to do it for a long time, and then you just found the right moment, or what was that decision making process like?
I think on one hand, it was clear that we had to do it to some extent because we've been working in a code base that did holograms, then it did NFTs, then it did jetpacks, then it did a fighting game. And we realized that it was, tech debt, of course, but things were just jumbled up in a way where you couldn't really do a live ops thing properly, where you need to be updating all the time. And we had learned a lot. Like we were a small team with a couple of people when we built our first stuff. At this point, we are very experienced. The team is very engineering heavy. Our CTO currently worked at Unity for 10 years. He's a systems guy. So with all of that in front of us, we decided to take a big leap with not only changing the code base to get it to be more flexible, but actually to get it to be a lot more performant. And to do that, we built it in a data-oriented architecture, which is generally like programming, it's object-oriented, right?
Yeah.
Game objects have animation files and sound files attached to them. Data-oriented is a new way of thinking about it. It's very counterintuitive for programmers because you're working with big pools that are not necessarily connected. So, you have a big pool of all the audio files and all the animation files, and it gets put together at runtime. So it's a very counterintuitive idea. The whole team had to completely shift how we were thinking about stuff. But as a result of it, which we couldn't have done it without our CTO, his name is also Rene, by the way.
Oh, I love him already.
Yeah,
it's clearly brilliant and very good looking.
Precisely. And so as a result of that, we now have a code base that actually can do over 100 times more than before.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. Yeah. Are you thinking of that as like a tech platform that you can do many things on? Does that get us to like where, like, what are these things that you've been sending me? Like what, like, how does that?
Yeah, actually, platform is a hard word for a million reasons, but we are trying to move it to a more general purpose direction now.
Okay.
And the point is that, we were going down the mobile game route and we made a lot of progress. We learned a lot, but ultimately free-to-play mobile gaming, it feels like a thing that from a decade ago, something that peaked a decade ago that has very specific ideas of how that whole industry works. There are these big gaming giants, they research everything and, it's very data oriented. It's all about your customer acquisition costs and your LTV. And obviously those are critical ideas, but when you're trying to do something new, you can't just, blanket apply those ideas. So what I felt over the last couple of months, which has been another big transition moment for us, was that the route we were going of making a specific game was making our code base more specific over time, even though it was actually way more capable than just that one game it can make. Like what I can do in our Unity project is way more exciting than what I can do in our game or app. So the point has been open up the framing where the thing, both the product and the code base actually only grow in capability over time. Like capability matters.
Interesting. And what is the product now? Like what are people doing with the thing that you're building?
So right now it's a very ill-defined state, which is very uncomfortable, especially when you've spent years like getting more and more specific and actually getting.
You're in a great state though. This is a really interesting moment to catch you. It's a great learning, especially for the creators who will watch this. Sitting with the discomfort of not knowing exactly what it is, but knowing that there's something there is a really special moment, and the creative life cycle of great work. Talk about that.
It's so essential and it's so hard. It's so easy to sit down for a day and be like, okay, we know what we're making. It's a product. We can imagine what the user experience is like. Let's just do it. We know how to market it. You think from the end user's perspective, who's our target audience, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, when you're productizing, that's not when you're finding the new extents of what is possible. You're working within the ideas you already have about the extent of what is possible, and you're giving them shape. You're shaping them into a product. And we've done that for a good amount of time. And I think now is a moment where things are different. Things have changed now because of AI. The cost of development, or what you should expect from what is possible, has shifted really dramatically. It's going to continue to shift over the next couple of years. So we have runway right now. We have runway for the next like 3 to 4 years, actually. And I think this is the moment where we have to really expand our perspective of not what's going to be possible in 3 to 6 months and what like a specific product would look like. That's important, but we need a North Star that's much grander. And when we started, we had a really grand North Star, which was, we're building the Mirrorverse. It's the virtual world.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
The Mirrorverse. What was that guy from Wired who maybe coined that term? I used to know him. I'm blanking it now.
Yeah, Disney ended up. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Kevin Kelly. I think it's a Kevin Kelly.
Could be. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, I hadn't thought about the Mirrorverse in a long time. Is that your North Star again? Have you resurrected the Mirrorverse?
Yeah, our North Star. I mean, I wouldn't use that word anymore. It's a very dated word at this point. But
yeah,
our North Star is much grander again. We can, like, what we are capable of doing right now is what I wanted to be able to do in 2021, but we weren't ready. The tech wasn't ready. Our code base, our expertise didn't exist. Now it does. So
and that was, if I remember correctly, it was allowing people to lay a full AR overlay to the real world, where you could place objects and other people could discover them, and you sort of have an infinitely rich AR layer on top of this world.
It's the full dynamic range of what's possible, and that's been a big thing over the last month or so that I've been pushing on with the team and myself. A lot of what it takes to make a specific product is about saying no to things and saying yes to certain other things. We've done this for a long time. If we're going to do portrait mode, we're not going to do landscape mode. We're going to do small characters or big characters. Like, constantly you're making decisions for what you think is the perfect formula for the thing that's going to work. But now the mindset is, no, actually all of that is valid. All of that needs to exist in this world and needs to be possible. And from the get-go, we need to build something that can do a really broad range of things. So what I've been sending you, some of those videos of like going in the van, going into the world, I think the key thing that's happening there is there's a world. There is a virtual, fully 3D spatial world that, because we have so much processing space now, we can literally plop up a world with like 15,000 flying cars and like thousands of buildings that all just show up. They get streamed to your room. You can cut it up in chunks, place it in your space. You can travel within it, while you can also travel in the physical world. It's very expansive, but the nice thing is, like, the van portal, the portal opening up, right? It used to be that, oh, we're going to do a thing, something's going to come out of the floor. We got to build a 3D scene behind the portal that you can briefly see, the van coming out and the portal in the back. We don't have to do any of that because now the world exists. If you cut up a little hole in the world, on the other side, actually, we're rendering a full game world. It's just persistently present.
Interesting. How much is happening on device, and how much is happening on network? Like, what's
right now, almost everything's happening on device. The current version that I'm working with, the world kind of gets baked when you build the app, which makes it's kind of static in that way, but it's really large and that's extremely performant.
Interesting.
And the networking right now is we are doing multiplayer vans. So there are other people. When you see a car in the world, it's someone else's car.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And now the thing that we're pushing on is to actually make the world truly like alive and persistent, where a lot of this stuff gets moved to the back end, where you could go to a location, change a thing or put a thing down, updates for everyone who's on the shared world.
Interesting. So this all sounds really exciting. You're in a great, it sounds like, I always think of creativity as a, like, expand the cone of options, generate a lot of ideas, explore a lot of, you know, what turned out to maybe be blind alleys, but you're in explore, expand mode. And then you get some insight, and then you go into sort of pruning mode where you, collapse those ideas and try to combine as many ideas and refine and simplify and simplify. And it sounds like you're in this really, expansive moment right now where you know the area you're supposed to be in, but you're trying a lot of things and being very open to being, surprised, or, finding something unexpected. Uh, I would love to, know, when do you know to switch modes? When do you feel like you know to start collapsing those ideas?
Sorry, my throat. I'm still recovering a little bit from the flu situation.
No
Um,
worries, man.
so you can't just do the exploration thing for too long, for sure. It's the I guess a blessing and a curse of raising VC money and having a team that is expensive to run still. Um, but I think there are two things for me that I really want to make sure get injected over the next month, because things are already starting to narrow, and I'm being very careful with defining too quick. Like, I'm fighting the urge to be like, oh yeah, you could just do this and this and this, and that'll be great. And I'm like, no, just take another step back, take another step back.
This reminds me of whenever my wife is upset, and I always think that it's like for me to like solve her problems, and I'm like, oh, we could do this or that, and she's like, no, I just want you to hear me. Just hear me. It feels like it's like kind of a similar thing. Like the
Yeah, no,
product is like, no, don't define my problems. Don't try to solve them. Just listen to me.
exactly, exactly. Because when you do that, new things start to happen, and that's been happening for us over the last month. Like, if every day I wasn't getting excited and like getting into the project and like getting blown away by how much more we can do than I thought when I woke up, I know that it's happening. But in terms of the narrowing in and getting more specific, it's happening already, and I think by the start of next year, we would be very much like working on a very specific product. Which, as I said, is we're ready. I'm not saying we're not working on specific product.
Yeah,
Obviously,
sure.
we have a code base and we have a lot of things that are happening in it. Yeah.
But how do you know, outside of the pressure of like spending lots of money every day, how do you know when it's time to, how do you know when you've got the insight and it's time to narrow in on something?
I think
What is that process like?
I think it's different for different types of products, and it changes over time. It used to be where we're looking for a game loop. We want to get to a point where we feel like it's a nice cycle and people want to do it, and we go and flesh out a lot of those features. I think we made a lot of mistakes on doing so in the past, partially because we were also building the tech to build the game while building the game. It was a big effort. A lot of pieces had to line up in parallel, pretty last minute, to get the product together. This time it's a bit different because I want to give ourselves a product and a framework that's actually pretty expensive, which can surprise us even after it's done. So it's not that we're getting surprised right now and then we're going to narrow it in and everything's good. We want to give ourselves a setup in which both the team and our participants, our players, our users can continue to expand the world and its capacity. So I know that's pretty abstract. I'll give you a couple more like specifics that are grounding this thinking. One of them is we want everything to be spatial. And what I mean by everything to be spatial is you open the app and you're actually completely shifting to a spatial way of thinking. Because the way we've done things in the past is you open the app, loading screen, 2D lobby, traditional like 3D, 2D, the character creator, then you enter AR, then you shift to a spatial way of thinking where now you're thinking about where you're looking, where your ray cost is hitting, your position, rotation, all that kind of stuff. And I think the problem is you get comfortable in the 2D, which is familiar and functional. And then when you get into the spatial, it's a bit uncomfortable and you kind of want to go back to the 2D. There's some comfort in just getting out of it. And now that we've flipped this idea where the moment you open it, you're in a spatial headspace. Every decision you're making, every choice you're making is spatial. Then when you suddenly get a 2D thing, it feels restrictive. It's like, oh, I was operating in this dimension. Now I have to like go back to this dimension. So the spatial has been a really key component. This has been a disappointment I've had from, you know, AR operating systems generally on headsets, where I've always been excited about what's Apple going to do with their OS, you know?
And you're going to sit still.
Yeah, exactly. And like everyone just ends up putting a bunch of floating iPad screens in front of your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we've been waiting for this for decades, you know, for someone to do something with this, you know? So that's, I know that once again, that's still a very abstract idea, but we're really wanting to push on all of those things that I've wanted to see. And the product, I'll just say this much, internally, it's not, once again, like defined as a product, which I'm trying to hide away from, but we're calling it like an OS. It's like, for us, it's like an OS that
I love that. An AR OS. Yeah, because I mean, each headset device sort of had one, and Apple has their own sort of augmented reality developer kit. But I imagine there's a great space to make something that's sort of like a more, you know, general purpose OS tuned for the needs of AR. And I imagine you're looking to the future for when it's not just a gorilla handed phone, but something that's head mounted. Is that the future you're waiting for? I mean, we've been waiting for this forever for like the device that makes, you know, a headset a truly mass market thing. Like what's your tea leaves say for that?
I mean, obviously love headsets, want to see all the stuff happen with headsets. I think the beauty of making everything spatial is that it's universal. It should work on headsets as is. Like it's not built for portrait mode on an iPhone. It's built for spatial, open, completely like open-ended. But at the same time, I really love phones and I love spatial stuff on phones. I really think that we need to get it over a certain threshold before other people can feel it too, to the extent that I feel it. But the thing with the phone is, it's light, you have it, you know what it means to move it around in space.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what it means to like point at a thing and select a thing. You've used your camera for decades at this point.
Yeah.
And there's certain things about a phone that a headset doesn't have. The obvious one would be things like you don't need to put it on your head and feel like you're disconnected from the world. Even when you're in the headset, you want to be on your phone. You know, you have like that pull. But another thing that phones have is multi-touch. And I think that's alone is like, it's multi-touch is one of the most intuitive interaction interfaces ever invented. And with a headset, you feel like, oh man, I need to like type my password in with the Samsung remote control again on the TV. There's this huge friction to you need a keyboard, you need all these things, right?
Yeah.
But on a phone, what you can do with multi-touch, but with things in space, like flick or drag a thing that's actually in space and apply physics on it. It's a whole other dimension of interaction.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like the few ones that I've done, it kind of feels like it's a remote control where you're controlling the real world, where you're like, you know, it's sort of like this magic wand kind of thing where you can touch your phone and have things in space respond like you have some magic telekinesis.
Exactly.
Interesting. So headset stuff doesn't seem to be you're fine. You think phones are here as the dominant thing for the foreseeable future, like question mark
I'm
about
not waiting for anything. Like there's like headsets are awesome. I want to live in a world where there are more headsets being used. Everything we're building applies to headsets as well as it does on phones, both the spatial interaction bits, but also just the processing bits. Like the headsets also have the same mobile GPUs, like all that stuff applies there. But in terms of reaching people, which, you know, is still the main thing that we want to be able to do, I think phones have a whole era of spatial 10-second happen with them that has not arrived yet. I'm
Interesting.
committed to making sure it arrives.
Well, I'm so fascinated with your work. I wanted to spend the first part of this conversation really digging into it. I'd be happy to spend an infinite amount of time exploring that. But I think what would be most interesting to the people who are in our community is the artisan community is highly geographically dispersed. We're probably only 30% in North America. A lot of the most talented, interesting creators are in, fairly remote places in Africa and in South America and in Central America. And a lot of them are in economically disadvantaged places. Your career has had this amazing, unlikely arc, going from a kid growing up in Pakistan to really achieving a tremendous amount with like both artistically as well as pushing the frontier of technology. Can you maybe talk to the people in our community that might have felt like you felt 15 years ago? Like how did you do it? And how might they pick up some nuggets of wisdom so they can follow in your footsteps?
This is a good question to reflect on every couple of years. I feel like it's been some time. But, like growing up in Pakistan for me, a lot of the media that I consume, it feels foreign, right? It is foreign. You see like yellow school buses and whatnot. And it's like almost like you feel like it's the kind of stuff that only exists in cartoons, but it actually does exist. And like for me, the big breakthrough was just getting online and making things and realizing that other people were also making things that, those people had a lot more stuff, access to a lot more things than I did. When I made my first website, it was inspired by me finding a Canadian librarian's website. I forget this guy's name, but he was a retired Canadian librarian, and he had a website for kids to review books on. And one of the pages was websites made by kids. And that was kind of when it clicked for me. I'm like, oh, kids can make websites. And I was like browsing other kids' websites, like this 15-year-old built this website. And it got me really excited. And like my only internet access was my dad had a computer in his room. That was also the room he would sleep in. We would come back from school because he was the principal of my school. So we would all go to school together. He would go to sleep in the afternoon. And when he would wake up, he would want to use the computer. And there was this 1 hour where he would go for a walk. And I knew that that was my 1 hour where I could get on a computer and do things. So all day I would plan for what I'm going to do with that hour. Like I would plan for like my website, like sketches, and just be ready to make the most of that hour. And when I actually got into the hour and made things, my things were seen by other people on that Canadian librarian's website. And these kids had MacBooks, like their personal MacBooks in their rooms. Like they had all the access they could have had. And I felt like I was doing things that were impressing them, that they were finding, surprising. And that was such a big confidence boost. And I think that was really important in putting me on a certain path. And I think that's possible now in to such extreme extents because of how social media and the internet and the attention economy works. Like value is when you can capture people's attention, and you being in a far off place somewhere that people haven't seen a lot happen with and mainstream media, you almost have an advantage because you have a unique perspective to share compared to every other influencer who's moving to LA to become a streamer or whatever, That's something I don't want to monologue for too long.
Interesting. Well, I love that story. That was a little insight into you that I didn't. Imagining you queuing up all the work you were going to do in an hour. I think constraints can be good for creativity. But having only an hour a day to do your project, that would have driven me crazy. Like I would get obsessed and I would stay up all night working on my, whatever it was that I was building as a kid. That must have just driven you insane. Like you must have been going like, when did you get your first computer? Like, how did that change what you're able to do?
I got my first computer, which was an HP laptop, when I got a scholarship to go abroad. So when I was 16, I got a scholarship to go to the Netherlands. And I then needed to have my own computer. And it felt crazy to get my own laptop at 16 and be like, wow, I can just do this all the time now.
Yeah.
But that's why the constraints, like, they really make you value stuff when you have it. Because I spent years where I would research on my Nokia 5310 Express Music on this tiny display, like reading up forums and like reading about the software I want to use and things I want to do, and then get on a computer and have this very constrained amount of time to do as much of that as possible.
You never strike me as like someone who's ambitious, and yet I feel like you are. Can you talk about like, what is the role of ambition? Like, what is the fire in your belly that has propelled you to do so much in your life? And what might someone else learn from that? How can they stoke those flames?
I think for me, it's like, on one hand, a series of sacrifices over the years of, I left home when I was really young. I couldn't be with my family when I was growing up. They didn't get to see me. And that it's kind of the case now as well. I didn't go home for 7 years at some point. On the other hand,
I remember that.
On the other hand, it's also this idea of investment that's gone into me over the years from the world, from getting a scholarship to go study in the Netherlands at high school, to getting a scholarship to go to liberal arts school in the US, to, raising money for various projects at festivals, to raising VC funding. Like, I've had a very lucky life in a way where I was born in a place where my parents didn't have resources for me to go do a lot of insane things. But from age 16, other people's resources have somehow funneled into my life to like give me a lot of experiences and capabilities. And I feel in a really positive way, the pressure to put all of that stuff to really meaningful use.
Do you think looking for pressure is a good strategy then, as a creator, to try to find external things that put that pressure on? Is pressure like a healthy, motivating force?
Yeah, I think pressure is critical, and like the higher you can make it and the higher the stakes can be, the better. Like, honestly, I thrive in that. Of just pressure is going up and stakes are raising, and the price to get something wrong is getting crazier and crazier. I think I love it. It's not for everyone. It definitely is all consuming. But this is what I like to do. So I always knew that I wouldn't want to be in a situation where I wake up someday and there's not much pressure.
Have you ever had too much pressure?
I mean, no, because I'm here and I'm at it, and I get up every day excited for what I'm doing, like feeling very, I would use the word blessed, all things considered, to just have resources and be going at the thing I want to do, follow my heart's desires. Like, I feel amazing to be able to do that. So on like a deep existential level, I feel like very satisfied. But on a day-to-day level, you still need the pressure to deliver. So I wouldn't say I don't think it's been too much. I can handle it. I can handle some more.
Didn't mean to imply you didn't. I was curious if there was ever a moment where it felt like too much and how you navigated that. But you always seem cool as a cucumber, unflappable is how I would. Chill, relaxed, natural.
I'll take that.
Okay, so Asad's never met his limit. We'll see if as you continue to scale the pinnacles of success, if the oxygen or pressure becomes too much, and then we'll ask, how are you dealing with it? And you can.
I'm sure I'm sure there'll be like enough things coming together. Like one has to age over time, and like
Yeah.
you have to kind of mellow out certain things about yourself, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, for a long time, I've just been like, yeah, I'm gonna have to mellow out in some ways at some point. Like this is exactly the time to not do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, always impressed with your good attitude, taking on really big projects, especially when you're doing the festival circuit and there's a very specific time crunch, it's like it has to be done by this date. And I remember visiting you before what was that one you did at Sundance with the kid in the wall? And it didn't,
Yeah, it
it
doesn't.
felt like everything was coming together at the very last second, but you were very cool. You're like, no, it's gonna happen, it'll happen. And it was, I don't know, there was some kid stuck in a wall somewhere and you had to get like a special like release from the state of
Yes.
Utah.
Yeah, exactly. It was a whole thing. We had to learn a lot about child labor laws in Utah because of like a last minute idea. That's the thing. Even oh, we missed press hours. We've still not finished this thing. Actually, how about we also add blah? It's like that last minute on feature
Yeah, I bet
creation.
your team loves you. You're like, nope, I need more pressure. Let's do
Yeah.
let's throw another creative curveball that
But
is gonna
it
make something
it
amazing.
was it was the most ambitious thing on a Magic Leap at Sundance in 2019. So I
That was a
will.
special year. Good vintage for VR and AR art stuff on the festival circuit. Or maybe I'm biased because that was sort of the last year I was really like in
That
that
was the last
universe.
year. That was the last year.
Yeah.
That was my last year in that whole scene as well. I mean, one could say it peaked in 2018 and 2019 was like the last year, or one could say it peaked. Yeah, I think it peaked in 2018.
I'm gonna call it. That was 2018. We had Spheres at Sundance. We
Yep.
had
Balance
Battle
Scar.
Scar. We had Terminal 3. That was at
Balance
Tribeca,
3 was
but it
a
was in
time.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a great year for projects. There was so many cool stuff. I miss that time. I miss that moment. It was a fun one. But okay, well let's wrap it up. We're getting close to the hour, and my family, it's Thanksgiving, day before Thanksgiving,
Of
and I got to
course.
go like
Of
cook or
course.
do something with my kids.
Yes.
But what parting advice would you have for like if you could go back and talk to yourself 10 years ago, like what would you say to yourself? Like what advice would you give yourself?
10 years ago.
Like when you're starting out your career, if you
Yeah.
could go back and talk to that person.
I think I'm starting to think in systems more and more over time. And it's not like I didn't back then, but it was always about the immediate gratification almost of finishing something, putting it out, getting results. And we did it a lot in aggressive timelines, like 3 months, 4 months. Like this is when I'm taking time now. And I think one of the biggest things is to just think in systems for everything, especially now with AI. Um,
System thinking.
like
What
everyone's jobs are different. Like the art director's job is not to just make textures for a 3D model. You can put in a prompt and get that now. So like everyone has to think at a higher level systematic kind of perspective to get what they're trying to get to and the output they're trying to get to. I'm not saying like AI just replaces everything and there's no space for like human craft on a micro level. There is absolutely like music is the thing that I enjoy recreationally. I've lost the attention span to sit through a movie or even play through a game properly, but
I
music.
know, me too. Isn't that so sad? Like movies I used to love so much, and I'm like, a movie? What, like seriously?
I'm honestly down. I'm like, whatever. This is my attention span now. I need quick information. I can consume a lot and digest a lot. Whatever. Like this is who I am. Let's go. um,
I'm glad you don't feel bad about it. I do.
but like artistry is absolutely critical. But it's silly to think that our world is not fundamentally changed now.
Yeah.
We have to just think very systematically about what we're doing, how it comes together over time. I would really hate to be in a position where over the next like 6-7 months to a year, we make a product, and it's a very specific thing. And by the time it goes out, the world is just a different place. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, when you release a product, it is a very specific take on it, and you have to time the world ahead. It's like surfing is. I don't even surf. I surfed one summer with my friend Ross, and that was it. But there's so many metaphors, and one of them is that good surfers will be able to look out into the ocean and you see the waves coming. And for me, it always just looked like it's a bunch of wiggly lines. Like, I don't know, but that, Ross would always look out to the waves and be like, oh, there's the set. That's the one. Don't go for this one. Go for the next one. And I feel like that's what products are like too, where you've got to see the world and you've got to sort of see this energy happening in one direction. And then you've got a time where you think it's going to be by the time you can make the thing that you're making. It's just very, very hard to time those two things right. So you're saying the advice would be think higher level, think about the big picture. Don't be so narrow. And maybe if you do that with more of your work, you'll be able to catch more of the wind in your sails and have the universe be pushing you along as opposed to paddling against it. Am I reading too much in? I'm pulling the nuggets out. I'm pulling them out.
You're giving it proper words. So
well, it's been an absolute pleasure spending an hour with you. I miss you. I wish we could hang out more. I don't go to LA enough. I guess you don't come up to rainy Portland. I don't know why you would. Give me an excuse, like just literally, like say that we're having a barbecue that I have to come to, and then I'll come.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note of this. We're gonna find it.
Yeah, it takes very little. Like anyone watching too. Like I'm a deeply lonely person. Like invite me, and I will like probably show up.
Okay, great. I need to do something that is an excuse to invite people for sure.
Awesome, I love it. Well, everyone. Nice hanging out with you for an hour out in the interwebs. I'm gonna end the stream. We'll see you for the next Artisan Talks.
Hell yeah.